Hello folks, Scott with Dallas Paint Correction and Auto Detailing. These videos are getting weird, right? You're only talking to my hand or seeing my hand. I figured, why do you want to see me? Why do you want to look at my ugly mug? Let's get to the point. Here's the deal. I want to talk about something that's going to be a little controversial. I think there's going to be people that come out of the woodwork and tell me I'm a complete idiot. I don't know what I'm talking about. You're doing it all wrong. I know how to do it. And that's fine, that's cool. I got big shoulders, I can handle it. And I've been wrong before and I've had to correct myself. So let's see how this goes anyway. Could be a little controversial. There is a trend, a growing trend in the industry that I love and I'm passionate about, and it's all about how to get from point A to point B quicker. One of the things that I'm watching and I'm seeing, and I've tried it, I've examined it, and I don't like it. But here's the deal. There are people saying, why don't you just clay your vehicle and wax it at the same time? Boy, that sounds great to me. I'm all for it, because I'll tell you what, claying a car, especially this big Navigator, this can take, depending on how bad the contamination is on this paint, this could take over an hour to clay the vehicle. And let me tell you something, when you're rolling that clay bar across the paint, it can get tiring, it can get exhausting. It's a long process. Here's the deal. This is why I don't like this method of using spray wax as a clay lube to do two things. Remove the contaminants and then lay a layer of wax. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to use, yep, I still have my stinky bottle from Meguiar's, but I'm using this bottle here so you guys can see what product I'm using. A little bit easier in the demonstration, but I've got this stuff now in a better bottle. But this is Meguiar's Synthetic Express Spray Wax, right? So I'm going to go on the panel here, I'm going to get it wet, I'm going to use this as my clay lube, and there you go. I've got way too much on there, and I'll put a little bit on my clay bar, boop, 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 that's wonderful. And now I'm going to roll it across the paint. Roll it, guide it, slide it, however you want to do it. So I'm picking up all those nasty contaminants, I'm cutting through it. Boy, this makes a lot of sense to me. I'm claying it. I'm also got wax on the surface. This sounds wonderful. And now all I'm going to do is take my microfiber towel and I'm going to massage that spray wax into the panel. Oh my goodness, this looks amazing. My customer's going to love this. I'm going to get their car back to them in half the time. They're going to love me. They're going to pay me more money. This is great. I've just made my life easier and my customer's life easier. I've clayed it and I've waxed it. Folks, how do I say this without pissing people off? To me, this is a no-no. This doesn't work for me. And I've done it. And I've been doing it the old traditional way, using a clay lube, using my clay bar, wiping off the surface. I've got some extra steps. I always have extra steps, but I want absolute perfection. I want amazing results. Not that this is all that bad. This may be good for you. This may work for you, but I'm a professional detailer. I got to give my customer the best results. It's their money, it's their car, and I have to be transparent with myself and honest with myself. Is this really the best way to clay and lay a layer of protection down on the paint? The simple answer is, and here it comes, because I'm going to get people to write a bunch of stuff on the bottom of the comments. They're going to tell me that Ivan LaCroix from Optimum, Levi from the Rare Company, you name it, they're all doing this. This is wonderful. It makes your life easy. Yes, it does. It makes your life easy. Ivan LaCroix from Optimum, a brilliant, smart man. Levi from Rare Company, love him. He's a gentle, kind soul. Absolutely love that guy. But here's the deal. We have to think about what's actually going on when we're claying the car and we're using the spray wax as a lubricant. There are things on this paint. Maybe you probably washed the car. Hopefully you washed the car first before you clay barred it. There are stuff on this paint that this clay bar is going to take off. Most of us know what they are. Brake dust, rail dust, industrial fallout, you name it. It's all over the paint, depending on how long that car's been sitting outside, when was the last time it was clayed. But there's something else on this paint that did not come off during the washing process, but should have, because it's technically not a bonded contaminant, and that is traffic film. What is on this paint after you wash it, it may look clean to you. You're gonna go ahead and clay it, that's fine. I got no problem with that. But I'm gonna flip this clay bar over because I used this on another car the other day and I wanna show you what's on it. This is the part of the clay bar I just used on my own car. I don't have a lot of crap on it. I don't have a lot of contamination on it. I take care of it pretty well. Flip this clay bar over. I wanna make a point to you guys. If you notice this clay bar, sorry, I'm getting out of focus here. You notice this clay bar, it's got little pieces of contaminants in it, little pieces of metal, but on the leading edge of this clay bar, that's grease and grime. That black gooey goodness that's on this bar is grease and grime that didn't come off during the washing process, and I'll tell you why. Most of you are washing cars, and I'm not picking on McGuire's because I actually like this car soap. I'm a professional. I like this stuff. This gold class stuff, this stuff's good. This stuff, or the car soap you're using, is we're all using pH balance. We want something gentle for the paint. I get it. And some of you might be saying, well, wait a minute. I up my game before I clay bar my car. I want to remove the old wax. I want to remove all the grease and grime. So you might be using your favorite pH balanced soap that gives you plenty of lather during the washing process. You'll fill up a 5-gallon bucket. You'll put your 2 or 3 ounces in this. You got your soapy mix. You're happy. What guys are doing is they're taking 4 or 5 ounces of APC and putting it in the bucket, thinking that's going to change the pH scale. Now all of a sudden they've got this toxic soap that's going to rip off or take off all the grime and grease from the paint. It doesn't. You've got to be much more aggressive than that. Even though you put APC in the bucket before you started claying and you washed your vehicle, you did not remove all that grease and grime. Where is Scott going with this? You're probably wondering, wow, he's talking way too much. Because there's grease and grime, there's contaminants on this deal, and because I'm using this spray wax as my lubricant, watch what happens. I'm rubbing this across the panel. I've got plenty of lubrication. This makes a lot of sense. I've got spray wax all over the car. Beautiful, love it. I'm also gonna take off these contaminants, all that grease and grime. Some of it's gonna stay on the clay bar. I agree with you. Some of this is tacky, this is sticky, this is abrasive. It's gonna stay on the clay bar. But now what's happened is that spray wax is completely contaminated. It's got grease and grime in it. I just glided this nasty clay bar through all that beautiful spray wax, and now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that contaminated wax and I'm gonna rub it into the panel of the paint. Does that make sense to you? Does that make, well, here's the deal. Spray wax anyway, if we really wanna be honest with each other, only lasts about a week, maybe you'll get 2 weeks out of it. But now that I've used it as a clay lube, and I've got contaminants floating inside the spray wax that's on the panel, I'm now rubbing that greasy, slimy spray wax, which is now not, it's not intact, it's not designed as it was created to work for. I'm just rubbing in contaminated, dirty wax. It doesn't make sense to me. This whole process to me is like, and I get it, I understand it. There's companies out there saying, hey, we can get you from point A to point B quicker. We can make it where you're getting your money faster. Folks, the only people who are telling you to do this are the people who are selling the spray waxes, or selling the clay lubes, or selling the clay bars. They're manufacturers selling you products. That's fine, that's great, I appreciate all of them. All of them make great products in my opinion. But what you're doing here, and it doesn't make sense to me, if you're gonna go through the process of claying a car, why are you only putting a spray wax as your form of protection on the car? Claying this car is a hard process. If we're gonna go that step, doesn't it make sense that we would put a better level of protection on the paint after we remove the contaminants than a spray wax? Doesn't make sense to me. And I know what some of you are gonna say, but my customers don't wanna pay for a real clay bar service. They don't wanna pay for a premium paint sealant. That may be true, that's fine, I get it, I understand it. But here's the deal. If you're a professional detailer, and you're doing it right, it's up to you to communicate effectively to your customers and tell them why you do it the way you do it. Not the way everybody else is doing it, trying to get from point A to point B in a quicker period of time to get their money so they roll down their street. And I'll be honest with you. Yes, there's times my customers say to me, why does it cost $500 to detail this navigator, Scott? That's a lot of money. I go through it. I communicate it effectively. I tell them the results I get, the amazing results I get is because I take my time. I do the process right. And here's the other deal. I've never, ever, I'll repeat it again, never, ever had a customer say to me, okay, it's going to take me $500 to detail this navigator. Scott, is there any way you can do it for half the cost, but do it half-assed? I've never had that happen. I've never had a customer ask me to do the job wrong, do all the steps inappropriately. I think a lot of us as professional detailers, we're thinking our customers are idiots. We're not giving them the benefit of the doubt. Here's the deal. The other thing I hear a lot is, well, my customers don't know any different. They just want the contaminants off there and they want a level of wax on it. They're fine. I move on. They're happy. If you're a professional, you have to ask yourself, what does that word mean to you? Yes, I'm doing a lot of things that my customers have no clue that I'm doing. They may not even have an appreciation for it, but as a professional, I have to bring my A game to the table. That's the experience I'm giving my customers, because there's two scenarios why a customer calls me. They either don't want to do it themselves or they don't know how. The fact that they don't know how doesn't mean that I start cutting corners because they won't know the difference. That's disrespectful. It's not my money. It's not my car. Here's another point. I know what some of you are going to say. I use Optimum. I use O&R as a rinseless wash. Then I take my clay bar and I clay the surface and then I spritz OptiSeal on the panel and I wipe it in. Scott, that gives me more protection than a spray wax. Does it really? When you're spraying that OptiSeal in that soupy goodness of contaminated fluid from the clay bar and all that grease and grime that didn't come off the wash that's now sitting in that clay loop that you're using, and you spray OptiSeal on this panel and you rub OptiSeal in, that OptiSeal cannot do what it was designed to do. It wants to be on a clean, virgin surface. You just basically did all that work and you gave your customer half of the protection, half of the amazing results that they could have gotten. I think my industry, I'm concerned about it, I love it, I'm passionate about it, but there's a lot of these little tips and tricks, and I get it. If my customer's fine with this, and they don't want to pay $500 for a detail, that's fine, but I'm going to go through the pros and cons with them. I'm not going to walk around thinking this is the greatest way on the planet to be able to do it. I know I'm ranting here, guys, but for my industry, I want all of us to make maximum dollar, give our customers maximum results, amazing results. We can do it. We can all start doing it. You want to call it the right way, that's up to you. But really, our customers will appreciate this. If we learn to communicate effectively, tell them why we do it the way we do it. That's why we're professionals. We're not hacks. We're not fly-by-night detailers. We understand the process. We want to give you the maximum protection for your paint. We want to give you amazing results. Using a clay bar, you'll notice it. Watch when you start using it. If you use a dedicated clay lube and you're cleaning off the surface of the paint with a clay bar, you'll notice not only little contaminants get stuck in this clay bar, brake dust, rail dust, industrial fallout, you name it, but there's grease and grime, there's motor oil, there's brake fluid, there's transmission fluid, there's radiator fluid on this panel even after you washed it. That stuff is not water soluble. It doesn't want to come off the paint. The clay bar gets it off, and that's nice, but here's an extra step that I take, because if you're using this clay bar, again, you got all these greasy, grimy stuff. You can see it. That's motor oil. That's brake fluid. That's black. That's greasy. That's grime. That's the stuff that didn't come off the paint. So here's the deal. Let's say I use a dedicated spray lube. I've washed the car. Maybe I've upped my game, put a little APC in my favorite car soap. I want to try to strip that stuff. And I use this thing, and I clay it. And now I'm going to clay the car. That's great. I'm not using a spray wax. I usually use a dedicated clay lube. I'll use O&R. I'll use Optimum O&R and dilute it right for a clay lube. That's great. And I'm going to wipe it off the panel. I go one step before I put a level of protection on this car. Some of you might say, that's great. He's washed it, he's clayed it, he's removed that nasty contaminated clay loop with his rag. It's now ready to get a paint sealant on it, a high quality paint sealant that's going to last longer than a week. I go one step further because here's the deal, folks. The soap that you're using, these soaps, this has shampoo and conditioner in it. That's a key word for some type of synthetic material that's in it, a glossing agent that's in it. That residue's on the paint. Then I use my clay lube. Clay lube has lubricants in it. That's a synthetic type of material that also has indirectly glossing agents on it. Yes, I've clay barred it and then I wipe the panel down, but I still may have some residue. I still may have some synthetic material on the panel of this paint. I want all of that removed. The residue from the soap, the residue from the clay lube, I want it all gone before I apply a paint sealant. This is what I use. It's called paint prep. This paint prep only cost me about $8 for 32 ounces. You can buy it. I know there's companies out there like Car Pro making eraser. There's Geon who makes paint prep. All great products. But what are they, $80, $90, $100 a gallon? Before these big professional manufacturers in the auto detailing industry started giving you guys paint preps that weren't IPA solution, there were always, the auto body industry's been using paint prep for many, many years, eons and eons and eons. I think it's DuPont that I buy at my local AutoZone or O'Reilly's. It's a grease, wax, tar remover, polish remover. It's better than an IPA because if you spray IPA on this panel, it's a little sticky, it's a little grabby. So what I'm going to do, I've washed the car, I've clayed the car, I've removed the clay lube. I take my paint prep and I just lightly hit the panel like I'm doing an IPA solution. And I'll come in and I'll wipe this panel off. Now what I've done is I've assured myself I don't have any little synthetic polymers, if you want to call it that, crawling around on the panel. I don't have any lubrication or synthetic material that was in the clay lube still on the panel, any residue from that. I then do a paint prep. This paint right now is completely virgin. There's nothing on it. There's no grease, grime, any type of synthetic lubrication from car soaps, from clay lubes. It is now ready to get a paint sealant applied to it. Why do I do this? Because paint sealants, waxes, they don't last as long as we all think they do, but I want the maximum potential for that wax or paint to stick to this panel, giving the best bang for my customer. I want him to get the best or get her the best results. This is the best way to do it. Now I have complete virgin clear coat. I can apply a paint sealant to it, a wax, whatever I want to do, and it's gonna bond to the surface of the stuff. It's not trying to fight through dirty spray wax that I use as a clay lubricant. I hope this makes sense in your world. I've done it both ways. I've seen the results I get from just using a spray wax, clay bar, wipe it off, and taking these extra steps. I see a night and day difference. I see better protection. I see better gloss. I see better shine. Yes, it's more elbow grease, but I tell my customers why I do it this way versus what other people are doing, and my customers are not stupid. They're brilliant people. They're smart people. They're value-oriented. They look at me and go, Scott, I get it. I understand it. I know why you do what you do. I know why you charge what you do. That is the best bang for my buck, and that customer says, please do that to my car. My little rant, it's Tuesday morning. I gotta fly, but I wanted to make a quick video. No, it wasn't quick, but there's some little tips and tricks why I think claying your car and waxing it at the same time. I'm not saying it's the end of the world. I'm not saying you're a complete idiot if you do it. I would never say that to anybody to begin with. But you really got to think about the process. You really got to think about when you're rolling that clay bar through that spray wax you're doing. And let's be honest, that spray wax cost me about $40 a gallon. Why would I waste all that elbow grease to remove the contaminants from the paint, only to get maybe a week's worth of protection and spend $40 to put a lubricant on the panel? It doesn't make sense. You think you're getting the job quicker. You're getting it done quicker, getting to your money faster. You might even be throwing your customer under the bus, but it's okay, you want your money. You're actually doing it, and it's hurting you. It's not working. Controversial as it is, I'm sorry. I want all of us, especially professional detailers, let's do it right. Let's show our customers we know what we're doing. We're professionals, and what that means to us is that we do it regardless of whether or not you understand it. That's cool to me. I want all of us to do it. But if you're a car enthusiast and you want to do it right, think about that. Tell me in your mind, play it through your head, which way's better to you. Let me know. I appreciate it, guys. It's a 20-minute video. I'm sorry to put you through it. Just wanted to talk about it real quick. Appreciate all of you. Talk to you soon. Be safe.